Now, the residents of a village in Bedfordshire are waking up to a completely different view this morning after 4 70-metre-high chimneys were destroyed in a controlled explosion.
It's amazing to watch. It was demolition that divided opinion. For some, they were eyesores, but others considered them historic monuments to the industrial age. And as Joe Black reports, it's a debate that is playing out in locations up and down the country.
The iconic Stewartby chimneys. They've been part of the Bedfordshire skyline for nearly 100 years. But not anymore. One by one they fell. Among the watching crowds, former workers who came to say farewell.
I'm very upset about it. Obviously, spent a lot of time in this place, and a lot of people worked here that I know, and sometimes still meet up with. Yeah, I am very upset about it.
Until yesterday, these 4 Grade 2 listed stacks were the remaining symbols of the brickmaking industry which dominated here.
It took just a few seconds to bring each chimney down. Now they're just piles of rubble, and the Bedfordshire landscape has been changed forever.
At its peak in the 1930s, Stewartby Brickworks employed 2,000 people and produced 500 million bricks a year. It was the largest brickworks in the world, and the London Brick Company created a whole model village around the site for its workers. Back then, there were 32 chimneys on this site. Over time, they became 4. Before demolition day, a stream of visitors came for one last look, including 95-year-old Ron Breed, who began his working life here at the age of 14.
I went all through it, a little boy on the presses, rustic machine, tram driving. It was hard work, dusty work, but it was all right.
Stewartby has now become the latest community to lose big industrial structures. Among others, the Dorman Long Tower in Redcar, stripped of its listing and demolished a week ago. These cooling towers in Ironbridge vanished from the landscape back in 2019. And the Tinsley Towers, which stood beside the M1 for decades, were flattened in 2008. Not everyone loves these monuments, and they can cost substantial amounts of money to maintain. But they are part of our industrial heritage and represent the history of our working lives.
These are structures which have dominated the landscape for decades or centuries, and people have come to love them, so people do obviously mourn their loss. I mean, Britain was the first industrial nation of all the problems that's brought, and we don't celebrate that enough.
Perhaps ironically, new houses will now be built on the Stewartby site. Historic England did advise against this demolition, but said decisions are made by the local authority. Bedford Borough Council said evidence showed that chimneys could be unsafe, and a legal agreement means a replica chimney must be built here so the site's historic importance isn't lost. The chimney's bricks have now become souvenirs. It is the end of an era, but it's also the beginning of a new chapter. Joe Black, BBC News.
You love those pictures, don't you?
It's just great to watch that sort of thing. I understand it divides opinion, but still amazing to watch.